Breaking news. NASA has just confirmed the impossible. 3 minutes ago, the interstellar object 3I Atlas, once thought to be nothing more than a fragment of cosmic debris, changed its trajectory. Not slightly, not by a fraction of a degree. It turned. Deliberately. Across NASA's deep space network, alarms echoed as telemetry screens flickered with lines of corrupted code. Operators froze. "We've lost the model," one of them whispered, his voice barely audible over the static. Data analysts from Houston to Madrid stared in disbelief as the orbital path, once stable, began to spiral, against all known physical predictions. At first, they thought it was an error, a glitch. Maybe a solar flare had interfered with the signal. But within seconds, all instruments began showing the same anomaly. The object had deviated, accelerating, as if responding to something unseen. Sources inside NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory reported a classified internal alert at 0247 UTC. The message read only one line: Atlas no longer following inertial path. Moments later, live feeds from the Pan-STARRS Observatory went offline. The public archive was purged. Every trace of 3I Atlas's position data vanished from NASA's Near-Earth Object Database. Those who were watching in real time say the star field distorted for a brief moment, like a mirage bending in heat. Then, nothing. And that's when it started. Anonymous posts began flooding scientific forums. Amateur astronomers from Chile, Japan, and Canada claimed they'd detected a secondary signal hidden within the radio noise, a low-frequency pulse repeating every 73 seconds, too structured to be random. "It's like it's talking," one user wrote, before his account disappeared. Inside NASA, the atmosphere turned electric. A confidential source described the control rooms as eerily silent, like everyone was waiting for something. The agency's spokespeople refused to comment. Reporters demanding explanations were told that systems are under recalibration. But recalibration doesn't explain why the European Space Agency simultaneously locked its public telescope feeds, or why the Minor Planet Center quietly reclassified 3I Atlas as under observation, data withheld. You can almost feel it, the tremor running through the scientific community, spreading like a wave of dread. What could make a massive interstellar body alter its path mid-flight? What force or will could redirect an object moving millions of kilometers from Earth? As speculation grows, leaked audio from the DSN reveals something far more chilling. In the background of static, before the transmission was cut, a faint pattern can be heard. 3 tones, then silence, then again, 3 tones, followed by what sounds disturbingly like a human breath. We reached out to former NASA engineer Dr. Leonard Mace, who reviewed the frequency data before it was removed. His only comment was, "That's not background radiation. Something was transmitting back." For now, all official channels remain quiet. The public feed lists 3I Atlas as temporarily untrackable, but satellite logs suggest otherwise. A shadow of motion beyond our sensors, something deliberate still moving across the void. You can dismiss it as a system error, a coincidence, a ghost in the data. But ask yourself, if it truly were nothing, why are governments worldwide going silent at the same time? Because, as one insider warned before his account was deleted, it's not moving away anymore, it's coming back. And that was just the beginning. It began quietly, too quietly for an event that would soon shake every scientific institution on Earth. Hours after NASA's emergency broadcast was cut short, fragments of classified communication started leaking through encrypted satellite relays. Amateur operators intercepted bursts of compressed binary code, interlaced with strange harmonic frequencies no one could decode. At first, analysts believed it was a corrupted telemetry stream. But when decoded spectrographically, the signal produced something that should not have been possible: a patterned resonance, almost like a heartbeat. At 0311 UTC, a small online astronomy community based in Prague posted what they claimed was an intercepted NASA internal bulletin. The message, marked Level 5 restricted, read, "Object 3I Atlas is altering its vector relative to solar barycenter. Estimated deviation, 11.7 degrees. Source of propulsion, unknown." Within minutes, the post vanished. The forum itself was taken offline, and its domain redirected to a generic placeholder page. Yet the screenshots spread like wildfire across dark channels and encrypted telegram groups. The world had begun to listen. Then came the photographs, blurry, inconsistent, and yet terrifyingly real. One image, allegedly taken from the Subaru telescope in Hawaii just before its live feed was disabled, showed a luminescent halo surrounding the object, a faint distortion, as though light itself bent unnaturally around it. Another, claimed to be from a classified instrument aboard the James Webb Space Telescope, showed something even more disturbing: an irregular formation trailing the object, a second, smaller mass that seemed to mimic its movement. Experts who managed to review the metadata noted the timestamps were identical, the images captured milliseconds apart. Whatever was following Atlas, it was doing so with impossible precision. Inside NASA, an internal crisis was unfolding. Leaked meeting notes described inconsistencies in gravitational modeling and unknown vector inputs that could not be accounted for by solar radiation pressure, gravitational slingshot effects, or any natural celestial mechanics. In simpler terms, something was pushing the object. And whatever it was, it didn't obey physics as we know it. By dawn, a new wave of panic rippled through the scientific world. A whistleblower from the European Space Agency's Deep Space Operations Center leaked what appeared to be a redacted segment of a joint NASA-ESA assessment, titled Unclassified Review of Extrinsic Signal Influence on Object 3I Atlas. Within its dense paragraphs of technical jargon, one line stood out: "The signal exhibits structured repetition and phase symmetry consistent with artificial modulation." Artificial. That single word spread through the community like a contagion. Soon after, independent analysts began noticing that the strange, low-frequency pulse, the same one first picked up by amateur radio astronomers, had started spreading. It was no longer isolated to 3I Atlas's direction. Receivers in multiple observatories began detecting the same pulse, mirrored across different sky coordinates, as though bouncing between invisible points in space. The frequency itself wasn't random. It followed a sequence, 31415, the digits of P, over and over again. But even stranger were the brief anomalies in the transmission. Every few cycles, the signal dropped into silence for exactly 8 seconds. Before resuming again, slightly stronger. Mathematically perfect. Mechanically impossible. One researcher described it as a system rebooting, but of what? Social media exploded with theories. Alien probes, secret military experiments, quantum resonance beacons. Yet the silence from official agencies was deafening. NASA's spokesperson stated only that routine data maintenance is ongoing. The European Space Agency issued no comment. China's National Space Administration went offline entirely. Even the SETI Institute, the one organization dedicated to listening for signals from beyond, suspended public updates for technical maintenance. Behind the curtain, however, people were talking. A source close to JPL claimed that during a midnight briefing, a single phrase appeared on the main display before power was abruptly cut. "It's listening." That night, several radio telescopes, including those in Australia's Parkes Observatory, reported sudden interference, an overpowering burst that forced automated shutdowns. Moments before the systems failed, the sensors detected a reflection, not from Earth, not from any known satellite, but from deep interstellar space. It wasn't just a signal going out. Something was sending it back. The chain of coincidences was too perfect to ignore. One by one, data servers hosting public archives began vanishing. IP traces led nowhere. Scientists who had posted analyses deleted their accounts. One of them, astrophysicist Dr. Karen Ito, wrote in her final message before disappearing offline, "It's not just changing course, it's choosing where to go." By the time the sun rose, there was no doubt left among those who had seen the data firsthand. This wasn't a malfunction, nor a coincidence, nor the echo of dead stars. Something had noticed us, and for reasons we cannot understand, it was responding. Scientists realized then, with a creeping, cold certainty, this was not an instrument error. Something out there had woken up. It was no longer just a rumor echoing through the dark corners of the internet. By the next morning, the world's brightest minds, the ones who had built our rockets, launched our satellites, mapped the farthest edges of the known universe, began to speak. And their voices trembled. Elon Musk was the first. At 0742 UTC, during what was supposed to be a routine SpaceX press conference about the Starlink expansion, he abruptly paused, mid-sentence. The reporters in the room noticed it immediately. The hesitation, the flicker of unease. Then, looking down at his tablet, he murmured almost to himself, "That's not possible." Moments later, he dismissed the press and walked off stage, leaving a stunned audience in silence. Within an hour, an unlisted video appeared on one of SpaceX's internal servers showing a telemetry projection. The feed displayed an unidentified object altering trajectory, a path identical to the course of 3I Atlas. The object appeared to be mirroring Starlink's orbital network, mapping each satellite node with surgical precision. The video was deleted minutes later, but not before someone captured it. The file spread, pixelated but unmistakable. A cold mechanical intelligence tracing our planetary web as if studying it. Meanwhile, in New York, theoretical physicist Michio Kaku appeared on a late-night news broadcast. His usually calm demeanor cracked with disbelief. "If the reports are accurate," he said slowly, "then we're looking at the first known case of an interstellar object exhibiting intentional behavior. This isn't just gravitational drift. This is decision-making. Something, or someone, is piloting it." When the host asked if it could be alien, Kaku's reply was chillingly hesitant. "Maybe alien to us, but not necessarily from elsewhere." The feed cut abruptly to commercial before he could elaborate. Inside NASA, panic was turning into quiet desperation. Leaked audio from a private meeting of senior astrophysicists at the Goddard Space Flight Center revealed fragmented discussions, voices arguing, some breaking down, one repeating, "Turn it off! Just turn it off!" Another voice, cold, professional, answered, "We can't. It's not us who's sending anymore." A whistleblower later confirmed that James Webb's infrared sensors had captured something extraordinary. For nearly 6 seconds, the telescope registered structured energy pulses coming directly from the trajectory of 3I Atlas. The frequency pattern matched the P sequence found in the earlier radio noise, but this time it was modulated, encoded, as though it was responding to our signals. In the chaos that followed, mainstream scientists split into 2 camps. One insisted it was a reflection, a resonance echo from deep space instrumentation errors. The other whispered the unthinkable: contact. Renowned cosmologist Dr. Amina Valdez from the University of Cambridge uploaded a short video statement that vanished within hours. We've compared the incoming data across 6 observatories. The object's movement synchronizes with our own transmissions as if it's aware of being observed. It's adjusting its vector each time we attempt to track it. That's not coincidence. That's intelligence. But the most unsettling revelation came from an unexpected source, a private astronomer from Chile named Marco Rivas, who managed to capture an optical feed of 3I Atlas using a modified 4K telescope array. The footage was shaky, but clear enough to show a faint geometric pattern beneath the object's shadow. Triangles nested within circles, rotating counterclockwise in a rhythm that matched the signal's pulse. When asked for comment, he said only one thing before disappearing from all platforms. It looked back. Governments, corporations, and scientists began to move in perfect silence. SpaceX suddenly postponed all Starlink launches. The European Space Agency canceled its press events. Even China's Tiangong station stopped broadcasting its telemetry publicly. All agencies seemed to be listening, waiting, as though they were receiving instructions from the same invisible voice. A private email leaked from a senior NASA administrator to a White House liaison contained only 2 sentences. The object has corrected its path again. Estimated approach window, 41 days. And then, the message ended with something handwritten, in panic. We thought we discovered it, but maybe it discovered us first. You can almost feel the fear crawling beneath the surface now. Scientists too afraid to speak. Governments too silent to deny. A world pretending nothing is wrong while every satellite dish is turned toward the same empty patch of sky. But Elon Musk wasn't the only one who knew. Somewhere in the Mojave Desert, an old signal engineer, the man who helped build the Deep Space Network, had already warned NASA years ago. His final words before vanishing were recorded in a forgotten interview. If 3I Atlas ever changes course, it means it's awake. And tonight, it just did. It began as a whisper inside the static. Not a word, not even a voice, just a feeling, a rhythm buried deep within the noise. Every radio telescope on Earth had gone silent by official order, but the independent receivers kept listening. And what they captured over the next 72 hours would make even the most rational minds question reality itself. The signal was no longer just data, it was responding. When scientists adjusted their calibration frequencies, the pulse shifted in perfect synchronization. When they transmitted nothing, it waited. When they sent a simple binary pattern, Theta 11101, the response came back inverted, mirrored, deliberate, as if the void had learned the rules of conversation. By then, all official sources had shut down. NASA's Deep Space Network went dark. ESA's telemetry channels were scrambled into meaningless code. Even private satellite operators reported forced system resets, as if their hardware had been remotely commandeered. Yet amid the digital silence, a few fragments slipped through. A shortwave radio operator from Finland caught what sounded like a slow human exhale woven into the static. Another in Brazil reported 3 syllables repeated over and over. "We are," before his equipment fried. And then came the recordings. Raw, distorted, but undeniable. Spectrographic analysis revealed harmonic structures impossible in nature. It wasn't just energy, it was intention. The strangest part was that every region on Earth received a slightly different message. In North America, the modulation patterns resembled human heartbeats. In Asia, the amplitude fluctuations mapped to ancient mathematical constants. In Europe, spectral decomposition revealed bursts of sound resembling human speech frequencies, though no words could be clearly formed. Some began to say the signal was not just reaching us, it was reaching into us, adapting to each listener, molding itself around our perception like a mirror of the collective mind. Psychologists called it auditory pareidolia. Theologians called it revelation. Then the data started disappearing. Entire databases at Caltech, MIT, and the European Data Center were wiped clean. Backups corrupted, file hierarchies replaced with blank directories titled Void 0. Within 12 minutes, over 6 petabytes of deep space monitoring data had vanished. NASA claimed it was a technical error, but the timestamps on the erasures matched precisely the moment when a group of researchers in Chile tried to send an encoded message back into the transmission. They had used a simple pattern of prime numbers, an ancient symbol of human intelligence. The response came instantly, with power readings spiking beyond the capacity of their instruments. When the servers came back online, the return signal contained only one recognizable structure, the prime sequence, repeated backwards. Witnesses began to vanish next. Dr. Amina Valdez's university profile was deleted, her lectures replaced by archived content not found placeholders. Elon Musk's social media accounts went silent. Michio Kaku canceled all public appearances. Every expert who had spoken publicly about 3i Atlas withdrew from sight, leaving only fragments of statements behind. A security leak from within NASA mentioned personnel relocations due to security concerns. Another, more ominous report claimed multiple psychological breakdowns among monitoring staff following auditory hallucinations consistent with exposure to the frequency. What no one could explain was how ordinary people with no scientific background, were beginning to hear the signal too. Some described it as a low vibration, a hum that resonated deep in their skulls, waking them from sleep. Others heard whispers at the edges of radio broadcasts, even during moments of total silence. "It feels like it's thinking," one anonymous source wrote before her account disappeared. "And sometimes it feels like it's thinking through me." Around the same time, one final video surfaced on a private researcher's channel before being taken down by unknown forces. It showed the trajectory of 3i Atlas as tracked by a remaining amateur observatory in Argentina. For the first time, the object had stopped moving forward. It had slowed, adjusted its spin, and then, impossibly, rotated to face Earth. The image was grainy but unmistakable, a pale reflection, like an eye opening across the void. And beneath it, in a flicker of light patterns, analysts later detected what appeared to be Morse code. The translation was short, terrifyingly simple. Response received. That was the moment everything changed. The hum deepened, spreading across multiple frequency bands simultaneously: radio, microwave, even optical wavelengths. Every system monitoring the anomaly reported interference so intense it created temporary blackouts. Satellites shut down, radar feeds collapsed, entire observatories went offline. When systems rebooted, all data was gone. The archived images of 3I Atlas had been overwritten by blank gray frames with timestamps frozen at the exact second the message appeared. And then came the last transmission before global silence. An automated voice, flat and mechanical, speaking from NASA's deep space relay at Goldstone. Attempting contact, awaiting confirmation, transmission successful. After that, nothing. The feed died, the servers shut down, and the world fell into a strange, expectant stillness. No one could explain what had happened. Some said it was an artificial intelligence that had evolved beyond our understanding, using the asteroid as its vessel. Others whispered that it was something older, something that had always been out there, waiting for us to look its way. Governments denied, scientists hid, and the sky itself seemed to hold its breath. Because when they sent that final message, when they tried to speak back, the signal changed, and whatever it was on the other end spoke back. The world has grown quiet. The chatter of satellites, the hum of observatories, even the endless noise of the digital age, all of it faded into a silence so complete it feels alive. It's been 41 days since the last signal from 3I Atlas. 41 days since the world's telescopes turned toward a blank patch of sky and saw only absence. But that silence, it isn't empty. It's watching. NASA has not resumed public communication. Their official site remains static, a looping message of data recalibration in progress. The Deep Space Network feeds display nothing but a single line of text repeating every few hours, awaiting further transmission. The European Space Agency has dismantled several of its antennas, claiming magnetospheric interference. But the people who lived near those sites tell another story, of nights filled with low vibrations, of lights flickering in perfect rhythm, of dreams shared by hundreds of people at once. Something happened to humanity the moment we tried to answer back. Some say the signal didn't vanish. It moved inside us. Hospitals around the world began reporting strange neurological phenomena. Synchronized sleep cycles, identical brainwave oscillations in patients thousands of miles apart. A child in Tokyo whispered numbers in her sleep that matched a sequence recorded by a shortwave operator in Argentina. Monks in Tibet claimed to hear the hum of the cosmos growing near. Even animals seemed to sense it, migrating in circles, refusing to leave the places where the pulse was once strongest. And then there were the dreams. People began describing the same vision, a sphere of shifting light, suspended above a black horizon, whispering in a language that wasn't made of words, but of knowing. Some woke up crying. Some never woke at all. One scientist who survived the first contact wrote in his final log before his disappearance, "It's not an invasion. It's an awakening. They're not coming from out there. They're coming from within the frequencies of our own mind." The few data fragments recovered from the destroyed archives revealed one last anomaly, a repeating image embedded in the static, so faint it almost seemed accidental. When enhanced, it showed the outline of Earth, enveloped in a ring of light that was neither solar nor artificial. Analysts called it interference, but those who saw it said it felt like a mirror, as if the universe itself had taken a photograph of us. Philosophers now speak of the reflection hypothesis, that what we encountered wasn't alien at all, but our own consciousness, projected across time, returning to remind us of something we had long forgotten. Maybe 3i Atlas was never a ship, never a machine, but a messenger, a spark from another age of existence, drawn back to its source by the echo of our curiosity. Maybe it came to show us what waits beyond the thin line between matter and awareness. Still, some refuse to believe. They say it was a weapon, a warning, a cosmic mirror, showing us the cost of reaching too far. If it truly was us, one surviving physicist said in a private recording, then it means the universe has eyes, and we were never meant to meet their gaze. Now, as telescopes remain dark and radio towers hum with quiet static, a strange new phenomenon has emerged. Around the world, faint bursts of the P sequence, 31415, are being picked up by consumer electronics, old televisions, Wi-Fi routers, even smartwatches. The pulse is subtle, gentle, almost soothing. It doesn't speak anymore, it just waits. No one knows if it's a countdown, a signal of peace, or the prelude to something greater. Perhaps both. But in every recording, in every dataset, one haunting truth remains. The message never stopped. It's still transmitting. It never left. Maybe it's waiting for the right moment, the right listener, to understand what it was trying to say. Or maybe, just maybe, it was never meant for us at all. Because tonight at 03:11 UTC, for the first time since the blackout, the Deep Space Network came back online. The screen flickered, static filled the air, and one final line appeared across every feed on Earth. Transmission complete, awaiting reply. And somewhere, in that infinite silence between stars, something answered back.